Look at me. I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now. Road to 145 begins. This, ladies and gentlemen, feels amazing. It feels amazing. I got this call right, and I'm just glad it was documented. I was doing this way before I had a camera on my face. It looks like Bitcoin wants to head higher. It looks like, dare I say it, Bitcoin has decoupled. I've said it. Bitcoin has decoupled, ladies and gentlemen. And we are heading to what? Where are we heading, folks? We're heading to 145. Brace yourselves. It's going to be a hell of a ride, folks. This week's going to be a massive week. A huge week for the S&P 500. We got Q1 GDP numbers coming out. We have earnings coming out. That's going to be pivotal, ladies and gentlemen. And we also have the inflation numbers, unemployment numbers. We got so much coming out. Once we get past this, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading to where? I've been seeing so much on my feed. I've been seeing all of this. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Whoa, what's this? Oh my God, look at this. M2 supply. Oh my God. Then social media keeps getting carried away with this filth. And then, oh my God, look, you can even apply it to optimism. Wow, guys, optimism for $4. Okay, let me investigate this thing. Let me just really investigate. What is going on here? Why is everyone fixated on M2 supply? Little do people understand that M2 supply is just an indication of DXY. The DXY is dropping. That's the main reason why M2 supply looks like that. From January all the way till now, it's gone down a whopping 12%, almost 12%. And that's the reason why M2 supply looks like this. If you had followed M2 supply, there are periods where M2 supply goes up for a good 6 or 7 months and Bitcoin goes down. The M2 supply went up from November 2021 all the way to April, and Bitcoin continued to make lower lows and continue to go down. It can go up for a X amount of time, but doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to follow the M2 supply. Get it? This is global liquidity, and what they tend to do is they add all of the central banks and then they tweak it. What they do is they tweak it 10 days, 20 days, 15 days. They keep tweaking it until it looks like Bitcoin. Many folks are looking at prices down here. Yeah, they're looking at 87, 88. Heck, they're looking at prices of 86, 84. These are the real prices they're looking at. But as a contrarian that I am, my bias has swung to the upside. Most likely, we're going to head to, dare I say it, the unspeakable, 100K. And then we'll probably get a pullback. There's a lot of liquidations sitting at 100K. Let's have a look at the order books. They're selling into strength. This period is when they begin to sell. Normally, when we see something like this, it means that the price is going to go up higher. And likewise, they are selling into strength. They're selling into strength. Whenever you see these green bars, it means that there are more bids than asks. It turns out big players were buying. I'm talking about big, huge players. Check this.
So for the month of April, as you would expect, gold ETF inflows were massive. I think $8.5 billion roughly from the 2nd through the 22nd. Okay. Might surprise you to learn that Bitcoin ETF flows were net negative to the tune of about 470 million. So the opposite of that was occurring. So institutions, sovereigns, patient pools of capital were piling in during April, which resulted in about a 13% increase in Bitcoin versus 10.5 for gold. And retail via the ETF were exiting. So you got to kind of ask yourself, what do the institutions know
were the
that
institutions buying Bitcoin direct? And how many of them are now buying via ETFs or other forms?
Well, hard to say. They don't, especially the sovereign wealth funds don't report.
Right, no, but you're also, I imagine, seeing the ETFs buying. Because the ETFs should be buying on a
in the last couple of days.
But the ETFs should be buying on a relative basis on behalf of their customer base.
Right, assuming there were inflows. Right? Last couple of days, yes, we've had inflow. But still, as of yesterday, it should change today, we've had net negative ETF inflows. So, so the first reason is de-dollarization. The second reason is this tech unwinding of this big levered tech trade and Bitcoin trading on its core characteristics, which again are similar to gold. You've got scarcity, immutability, non-sovereign asset, portability. Right. So trading the way people who believe in Bitcoin would like it to trade. Mm-hmm. The last was, to me, the most interesting, which is I spoke to a couple of traders who said, look, if you believe these conditions, these de-dollarization conditions are going to persist, you're looking at gold, obviously, first and foremost, but maybe you missed out on that trade. You're looking at that rally and saying, I missed the boat on that. So what other assets could participate in that market panic long-term inflation hedge? When you do the work, there's a very short list of assets that mirror the characteristics of gold. Bitcoin is on that short list. In addition to the 4 characteristics I mentioned, its mining scarcity, its mining difficulty gets harder over time.
Yeah, and you can add 2 or 3 more good things about Bitcoin that you didn't even mention.
This is the Fear and Greed Index, and we're currently at neutral. We're in no man's land. The price is hovering between 95. People are not extremely bullish, which is a good sign, and participants are not extremely fearful. This is a good sign. The overall market has had a bounce so far. We got the likes of Bonk, Virtual, WAL. Monero has actually gone up in the last week, 31%, a massive 31%. In the past week, some of the outperformers are Pengu, Virtual, Sue, with Altcoin, and Trump. I told my private members to get into Sue when it was around $2.10. Since then, it's gone up a whopping 70%. The Fear and Greed Index is at 18. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep saying this on my channel. This is a period where you DCA and get into alts. In a period of weakness, you buy low and you sell high. I repeat, you buy low and you sell high. At the moment, altcoins are not outperforming Bitcoin. There's only 2 coins that are outperforming Bitcoin at the moment. And one of them is Monero. Will we see an altcoin season? Will we? Will we? What do you guys think? What do you think? What do you think? Everyone on my channel should be using Grok, and it's a powerful, powerful tool. As you know, I'm massive on AI coins, massive with AI. I've simply asked Grok a few questions and I said, list me some of the top mindshare crypto projects, and it's listed some of them out on X. The first one being Bitcoin, second one being ETH, third being Solana. These are all obvious. The fourth one is Gotius Maximus, Virtual, Tau, Aave, XRP, Hatch, Griffin. Guess who's back? Cerebro went up a massive 4x. Will it return? Will it come back? It went up 160x, then plummeted back to earth, went down a whopping 97%. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Cerebro wants to come back. This is an indication of reflexive markets. They go higher than you expect and they go lower than you can ever anticipate. Gotius Maximus. What did I say, folks? I said Gotius Maximus is coming back, and some other AI coins are going to come. Yearn Finance went down a meteoric 85% and then rose above the ashes to make all-time new highs. Will this coin, all the coins of my private members, will they do it? We're going to have to wait and see. Yearn Finance had a meteoric rise, came out of nowhere during DeFi summer, made all-time new highs, went up a massive 1,160%. It went minus 83%. The market cap was previously 1 billion. Then at the bottom, the very trough, it was standing at 250 million market cap. 6 months later, it made all-time new highs. Will some of these AI coins ever come back? Virtual went up a massive amount during the previous altcoin rally. Subsequently, it plummeted back to earth and went down 91%. As of now, ladies and gentlemen, we're up a massive 215%. Coin is only up a mere 20%. Whereas Virtual, if you had bought in early, like my private members, you would have been sitting pretty by now. Will Virtual behave the same way as Yearn Finance? We're going to have to wait and see, guys. I've overlaid this fractal onto this current period, and I believe that we're going to form new higher highs. This is my bias, and this is what I think. Here are some of the events happening this week. We have the consumer confidence data coming out on Tuesday. We have the JOLTS on Tuesday as well. We have the most important US Q1 2025 GDP data, and that's coming out on Wednesday, followed by March PCE inflation data. And very importantly, we have Friday, April jobs report. And we also have around 25% of company reports. It most certainly is going to be a very, very busy period for the S&P 500 this week. We could peak to this area of 5,673, followed by a correction, form a double bottom, maybe a lower low, or a slightly higher low. The bears are going to defend this area with their lives, ladies and gentlemen. They want it to continue to go down and make new lower lows. That's what they're desiring. Although some of them don't have no skin in the game. They literally have no skin in the game, but they just want cheaper prices. Cheaper prices they might be able to get, maybe if they're lucky. But looking at prices here, fat chance. I've been right across the board, ladies and gentlemen. Yet, you still don't believe me, do you? You still don't believe me, folks, do you? I'm some random guy on the internet, aren't I? Let's talk about Ethereum. Ethereum's having some of its biggest updates. Currently at 18,000 US dollars. We're still on struggle street, to be fair, but this week we're having massive updates, huge updates. We finally have the Ethereum update. It's happening this week. We got roll-ups, we got token approvals, we got UX improvements, smart contracts, smart wallets. We got all of it, and it's happening this week, ladies and gentlemen. And normally, when we see upgrades in any coin, what does that mean? It means that we're gonna see a momentary pump. Ethereum's not out of the woods yet. It really isn't out of the woods yet. But for this week, you can breathe easy. Altcoins might see a relief. Some of the top tokens in mindshare is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, SU, Pengu, Bonk, XIXBT, Pepe, Bank Wallet, Altcoin. Let's quickly have a look at the news. We have ADA and Ether market gains as Bitcoin decoupling continues. Bitcoin is continuing to show signs of its own decoupling away from equity markets. ADA and Ether gained more than 14% in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin crossed 93,500. Bitcoin also jumped 6%, while Solana, BNB are all doing relatively well during this rally. Overall market capitalization rose to 4.4% to 3 trillion and some change. Our next area is right over here at 2,000 US dollars. And then if the momentum continues and we have this animal spirits come back, I can see Ethereum head to this area right over here before a major pullback. Is this the bottom for Ethereum? Well, you know my answer for this. You all know my answer, and it's regarding the one and only, my friend, my bestie. I feel like he's my friend at this stage. I really feel like he's my friend now. He's not always on my side, but I feel like I know this man now. I feel like we have a real deeper connection. Mr. Powell. The reason why Ethereum and majority of altcoins are still in struggle street, let's not get carried away. We are going to see what? An altcoin rally. We're seeing that in the flesh. This is the chart. It's a no-brainer. You have QT and you have the Fed funds rate. The Fed's fund rate is still not at sufficiently lower rates. Once this comes down, ladies and gentlemen, and gets to around 2%, that is going to be neutral. But most importantly is this. QT is still here, ladies and gentlemen. However, the good news is this. It's not as drastic. If you really squint, really squint and look at it very closely with the naked eye, you can tell that it's just moving sideways. The Fed have indicated that they are slowing down QT. But what we want for altcoin season is this to head up higher, just like this period. This is the relative social metrics. Just to give you an example of how uninterested retail is at the moment. Coin search terms are down. They're not the same as 2021 and they're not the same as 2017. Retail haven't durably arrived in this market. They simply haven't entered the market like before. I don't really need to show you a chart. Go look outside. Is anyone really talking about altcoins or crypto or Bitcoin for that matter? Not like before. Not like in 2021 where it was everywhere. I'm talking about the taxi drivers, your grandparents, your mother, your father, your siblings, your friends. Everyone was talking about the latest hot trendy altcoin. Google search terms for Coinbase is admittedly relatively low compared to 2021. It's not the same. This cycle is certainly different, and retail haven't durably come back into the market. And once they do, whenever they do, that unfortunately marks the peak. Crypto natives automatically dump on retail, which is a problem. Ethereum, relatively low compared to 2021. As soon as retail enter, they get dumped on. It's not sustained price actions like before. Google search terms for Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs, Solana, Coinbase, they're all in the mud right now. Although Bitcoin got to a whopping 110,000 US dollars, retail haven't entered the market durably. This cycle is far different. Most notably is on-chain. The on-chain search volume has increased massively. It was non-existent in 2020 and 2021, however now has shown massive strength. Web3 was non-existent in 2020 and 2021. However, this year has shown massive strength. And finally, most notably, meme coins. They were non-existent in 2021. The most notable meme coins during that time was SafeMoon, Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, basically a handful of meme coins. This year, meme coins are making new higher highs. Matter of fact, the president of the United States of America made a meme coin. I can keep telling you this is a great period to buy, but one of the things that no one really speaks about is your risk tolerance. I know it's hard, it's difficult. Everything in your mind, in your brain is telling you that we're gonna make lower lows. Everything in your mind is telling you that this is a fool's rally. The best ever time in history to take risk is when you're on the other extreme. You can't be a contrarian just for the sake of being a contrarian. You have to be a contrarian and right. It's been a pleasure. It's been a massive pleasure. Summer's here. Go enjoy the weather, have fun, and in crypto, if you stay long enough, you're gonna make some gains. Don't forget to take profits. And I wish you and your portfolio the best. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.